a officer-involved shooting by ICE in Minneapolis.
Like, that's how you poison the minds of the woman who's driving that car and thinks she's going to speed off into a law enforcement officer.
That's what happens, folks. If you attempt to murder a federal officer, they're going to act in self-defense. I hope any reasonable person can understand this.
Again, officers who clearly identified themselves and said, get out of the car, the woman hits the gas and gets shot.
You've got streets full of people who are not local. This is not people who are on their lunch break. This is people who are coming in from out of state to cause problems.
For decades, the rising cost of health insurance has been a contentious issue, one that affects every single American. Big health insurance companies who have been paid trillions in U.S. taxpayer money are raising health insurance prices historically high on Americans. At the same time, it was reported that major health insurance companies were funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund Gavin Newsom's redistricting effort in California, designed to undermine President Trump and congressional Republicans. Just the other day, President Trump announced something historic. He's going to haul in the heads of the largest U.S. health insurance companies with the goal of saving Americans money by lowering the outrageous price of health insurance. The president has been crystal clear. Big insurance companies have been, quote, ripping off the public for years. Now he's taking the bold step of holding those big insurance companies accountable. It's about time, and we should all thank President Trump. Learn more at americansforopengovernment.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you. Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I'm Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug Michael Duncan and John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. Fellas, it has been my sincere hope and prayer for several weeks now that the elected leadership of my home state would stop humiliating my home state. Mm-hmm. In fact, that is not the case. It has gotten worse. And this one is now, I think, sort of at a tipping point, a boiling over in some ways. What, of course, I'm talking about is a officer-involved shooting by ICE in Minneapolis, which is now all over the news. You've undoubtedly seen everything there is to see about it. The only reason the federal agents are there in the first place is because of the world record fraud that is going on. And the governor of Minnesota, the attorney general of Minnesota, all of the majorities in the state legislature, Democratic establishment itself in Minnesota has become indicative of a larger issue, which we've seen from progressive Democratic leadership across this country, which is use your money like fun coupons to try to buy off constituencies that they think they can control. In this case, it's the Somali population. Of course, the Somali population, rich in their own pride of figuring out how to rip people off, have figured out how to work through daycares and health, home health.
Food
programs, all kinds of different things. And this was the discussion that we were thinking about having today because it's been an issue, but it's come to a head in that we know the facts of what's happened here. So federal agents responsibly have been deployed to the state of Minnesota because state leaders decided at some level it wasn't their responsibility. In fact, there are new documents that we'll uncover here today in this show that will show you that not only was it the blind eye, but there was auditing that was done that they attempted to subversively sort of hide from auditors. And there were whistleblowers, as we saw in congressional testimony on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, that when they said, hey, these things don't exist, they got fired. All of this is connected, folks. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that you need to remember. What Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, wants you to think about, which is the same thing that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and all the leadership of the Democratic Party want you to focus on, is what happened now. What kind of whiz-bit, what kind of explosion can we make to happen now and get into a partisan argument to muddy the water? Because we certainly can't have a forensic accounting of the criminal enterprise that we have been rolling through this country for decades. Because that's what it is. These people are crooks. I don't care what you say, they are crooks. They all demanded state and local funding, block granted to states and localities. And they knew that because they could turn to their Democratic partners at the state and local business community, where they would just pay off constituencies. Give them money, sight on scene. Daycares with no kids. Healthcare providers with no patients. Right? I mean, all of these things that they were doing have now come to light. And so, of course, you've got to create a disturbance. Right? You have to have that be the discussion.
Right, because none of these things are happening in a vacuum. Like you said, Holmes, it's all connected. You've got paid professional agitators that have been out in the streets in places like Minneapolis, throwing rocks, getting in the way of ICE doing its job. I mean, these are federal law enforcement that have been empowered by the courts and by the President of the United States to go into these places and do the job that Tim Walz won't do, that Jacob Frey won't do. And the reason why they don't want to do it now more than ever, like you said, is to cover up the criminal enterprise that the government of Minnesota is running.
It's 100%
it's as simple
true.
as that.
That's the most important thing. Is the story here is this is part of the process of holding accountable the people who stole at least $8 billion from the American taxpayer. And the Dems want to make it as difficult as possible because their entire system is built upon this system of essentially stealing from taxpayers and paying for voters. That's how the Democrat Party exists.
I think it's even more sophisticated than that.
I was just going to say they're entirely owned and operated by this Somali fraudster sect. And if you don't believe all of the documents and all of the reporting you've seen over the last 2 weeks,
we got some clips for you for
further than the state flag. The state flag in Minnesota used to look very different. And the libs in that state, in power, were like, you know what, we need to change it. And they didn't change it to look like a modified version of the American flag. They changed it to look like a modified version of the Somali flag. Look no further than that. I mean, who in the right mind ever thinks about the state flag except the type of people who are looking to make a statement and take advantage of the place where they live?
I mean, you're entirely right. And it's so outrageous. And the fact that this has happened at all is incredible. It is a testament to the lack of competitiveness that Republicans have had in that state. It is a testament to the absolute abject decline in local media, particularly in Minnesota, where it's always been somewhat of a back rub for the Democratic Party there. But as they have gotten more power, their only job is to try to excuse it. And they're a precious few. There are things like the Powerline blog, things that go back all the way to the G.W. Bush administration about uncovering. I think they were actually responsible in some ways for the Rathergate thing with 60 Minutes, but they're located in Minnesota. They've been covering this stuff. The American Experience, the folks that hosted us when we were out there, they've been covering this for years, and nobody would talk about it. Like, we've tried to, but nobody would discuss it. But this has been happening for so long that they've now gotten to the point where the criminal enterprise is about to be exposed.
Yep.
And they don't have any other recourse other than what worked for them last time, which is recreating George Floyd 2.0. Let's see if we can just create some kind of a partisan, racially divisive argument across this country that has nothing to do with our total criminal negligence for what it is that we say we do here.
I mean, you saw right off the bat, as soon as the Somali corruption started getting exposed by Nick Shirley, the response, even from the Somalis who were involved, is like, oh, this is racism. This is racism targeted at our community who's just honest people who are getting millions of dollars from a daycare with no kids. It's just racism that's the problem here. But now the Dems are on their crutch. The last step that they always try to use is time to incite the violence. It's time to start the riots. It's time to gin up violence and make people think that, oh my God, this is the voice of the unheard. This is just what happens, because they have to stop the exposure of this system that their entire criminal enterprise is built upon.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Frey and Tim Walz created the tinderbox and then threw a match in.
Bingo.
Which is what we saw today with this officer involved shooting.
We're going to provide you some clips on that. We're going to have some fun in this show, too. We're going to play King of the Hill. We're going to give you some variety. But this stuff you got to pay attention to because over the next 48 to 72 hours, it not only shows you what is a current debate that you're going to be exposed to, but it's giving you a playbook for what it is that Democrats do and what it is that they hope to accomplish in the 2026 election and beyond. It is the modern ideological standard of what Democrats are. I mean, it's no longer a difference of opinion on how you help people obtain health care or get a better education. It used to just be like different methods for the same goals. It really did.
Right.
It's just a different ideological point of view on people trying to obtain the same goals. It's not any longer. This is fraud, and it's intentional. And when they get caught with their hand in the cookie jar, they have to set the city on fire in order for you to pay attention to that rather than what it is that they're up to. I mean, you mentioned the Somali flag. Now it's the Minnesota, some facsimile of that is now the Minnesota state flag. You know there's 108,000 Somalis in Minnesota? 108. It's a 6 million person state. Why is it that over-indexes on something like that?
Could be the money.
You have $8 billion in fraud. And we don't know the percentages, but we do know the evidence as to where at least the early returns on where the fraud went in Minnesota. Why is it? Billions? I mean, I just looked it up earlier. I was trying to do the math on it. You know, you could spend $1 million a day for 22 years and not spend $8 million bucks? $1 million a day.
It's so much
for 22 years. Think about that.
You can't even fathom that much.
It's first of all, why is that proportionate to any population?
Right.
6 million people. Right? The poverty rate, they always brag about how there is no unemployment is record lows in Minnesota. People out of poverty, record lows, all of these things in Minnesota. How is it that you could spend $8 billion on low income anything?
Well, you see, daycares have had a very high employment rate in the state of Minnesota. They're a bright spot among employment numbers.
I mean, they're the wealth gathering. If only they deposited it in like a bank there instead of Mogadishu,
That's the thing, is like,
it would really work
if the
itself
money
out.
had actually stayed in the local economy, it would look like Dubai in Minneapolis. But it's all getting sent out. It's all getting sent to Somalia, which is like, why hasn't Somalia built a Dubai at this point yet?
Oh, no, seriously. Can you imagine if any other population anywhere was given $8 billion to try to do whatever they wanted to do with it?
Like Al-Shabaab.
What the city would look like? Can you imagine if you just dropped $8 billion on a city anywhere in this country? $8 billion. Redevelopment plan, $8 billion. Do you know what that would look like? It'd be paved in fucking gold is what it would be done.
Al-Shabaab needs a lot of investment advice. They're really not doing the best with the capital that they're being given by these Somalians.
Well, I just don't think Tim Walz or Jacob Fry or any of these Democratic leaders in Minnesota particularly care about the fraud. I think they encourage the fraud. I think they like the fraud because it gives them a constituency, a voting base. And I think it's their way of doing USAID through other means.
I agree. I think you meant the same thing that I'm coming at this with, but I don't think they don't care about it. I think they care deeply about it, and I think it's intentional.
They think it's good. Yeah.
I think what
We need
they
to
are
do more of it.
Yeah.
I think what they have done, and it's not just Fry and Walz, it's Amy Klobuchar, it's Ilhan Omar. It's what's the other
Tina
fucking
Smith.
boat? Tina Smith. Jesus, I mean, she looks like shit ran
What a
over
zero.
twice.
Complete idiot.
And she shows up in the United States Senate. We all have to believe that somehow she was duly elected. Are you kidding me? I don't know anybody who would cast a ballot for that pile of garbage. Anyway, all of those people are in league for one basic reason. Minnesota, in and of itself, used to be a very democratic state for decades, in large part because you had leaders like Hubert Humphrey, Walter Mondale. They had a merger between the Democrat, Farmer, and Labor. Farmer and Labor's were a party that merged with the Democrat. They represented blue-collar,
Yeah, real working class.
working-class folks, which they carried on for generations, which was that Hubert Humphrey coalition that was put together. They lost all of that. The Iron Range in northern Minnesota used to say, like, you find out how many Republican votes you have in the urban epicenters and the suburban area, and then you have to just figure out how many votes you need in the Iron Range to win the state, and that's what Democrats would do. Well, they lost all of that. So all the rural folks in Minnesota, all the union workers and the iron miners and the farmers, they all left. They're all Trump Republicans. And they're counting on a very condensed base of operations in Hennepin County in Minneapolis, of which 102,000 people are Somali. But they got to deliver all of them because you remember these elections are getting closer and closer. Trump's not far away from taking Minnesota. It's not some like Washington State or Oregon. It's more like Wisconsin or Iowa. It's just a matter of how they balance those votes. And so what they made the decision to do is full corruption, pay to play. Let's make sure we send millions of dollars to these people. Day in and day out, we ask no questions. We're going to get into this. And in return, all you ask is that they keep voting D, and they didn't block, they keep doing it.
Right.
That's why we're in this situation. So now the federal government gets involved. This is the issue at question with the ICE episode yesterday. Clip 1A. Okay.
Yeah, so here's the slowed down version of it. And you can see that officer at the hood of the car get clipped by the car and fire into the windshield.
So if you're on social media and if you're just listening to this, what you have seen is a lot of different clips, and it's a Rorschach test in large part to what your ideology is and who you want to blame. Whatever angle you've chosen to amplify to the your following is basically who you support in all of this. What you saw on the first one was that there was at least one cop that was visible that was directly in front of the hood of a car that decided to speed off directly in the direction of the officer, at which point somebody opened fire. Unclear if it was the person that was in the front of the car or somebody else, but somebody opened fire, struck the person who was driving the car, and it crashed into the thing. That's what you just saw. Here's another angle at it, 2A.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God!
Okay.
What the fuck?
So the second angle is the reverse of all of this, which is the thing you didn't see in the first, which was the other two officers, not the one that was about to be run over, but the other two that were approaching the car, one of whom said, "Get out of the car," and reached for the handle and started trying to open the door. We don't know what precipitated this event or why that car in question was a part of this discussion at all. Of course, Tim Walz and Jacob Fry don't care about that. Right. They just care about this fragmented component. But the federal officer, clearly identifying himself, said, "Get out of the car," and pull with lights and sirens, by the way.
Yep.
Right.
It's not like you thought you were
It's not
being
mystery,
carjacked.
yeah.
Right.
You know? And pulled it, and this person decided to, instead of comply with a federal officer, to hit the gas and try to run over what you saw in the first clip, which was a third cop that you couldn't see in that clip, standing directly in front of the car that they tried to run down. Well, I got to tell you, when you try to run over a federal officer, you're going to get shot.
And that's the thing is, so the images that have been posted subsequently, you see a bullet hole in the front windshield of the car, which is from the officer who's getting run over.
Yeah.
That seems pretty clear of what has happened here is you had a psychopath who tried to run over a federal officer. And that's what happens, folks. If you attempt to murder a federal officer, they're going to act in self-defense. I hope any reasonable person can understand this.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of reasonable people on the internet right now. They're studying this like the Zapruder film, frame by frame about how this officer who was on the hood of the car was supposed to not fire into a person trying to hit them with their car. They know better than this officer. Again, officers who clearly identified themselves and said, "Get out of the car." The woman hits the gas and gets shot.
And the question is, why is it that they wanted her to? I mean, the car was weird akimbo in the middle of the street to begin with.
Right.
The circumstances that led up to all of this are certainly not irrelevant. We don't know it, but that's the only thing that the governor and the mayor and all these people are reacting to. So the governor says a woman is dead for no reason.
Unbelievable.
No reason. Well, other than trying to run over a federal officer, that's for one. The governor then goes on to say, "We've never been at war with the federal government before in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Well, that's the inverse of saying we are at war with the federal government. Of course. That's sedition.
Right.
Bingo.
And talking about calling up the guard,
Yeah.
you know.
And like, what kind of a fucking maniac anywhere in this country? I don't care. I mean, you can go back to the 1960s and the race riots and all the stuff where Alabama and whatever. That was solved more peacefully than these people are attempting to solve this. And you had horrible circumstances in 1960, horrible racial divisions, and things that the federal government needed to fight through in order to maintain law and order, to ensure people had equal rights and equal protections. What these people are doing is basically the same fucking thing. What they're saying is there is no law here. We create the law. And in fact, Jacob Fry says, get the fuck out. Quote, get the fuck out.
I mean, you got Democrats calling ICE Gestapo, calling them terrorists.
And
Like that's how you poison the minds of the woman who's driving that car and thinks she's going to speed off into a law enforcement officer.
And
Exactly.
you've got streets full of people who are not local. This is not people
Right.
who are on their lunch break. This is people who are coming in from out of state to cause problems.
And people who obviously benefit from the system of corruption that the Democrats have propagated in places like Minnesota and around the country. It's
Right.
why when Elon Musk did Doge, you saw the reaction you did. People
Yeah.
went to Tesla dealerships and started lighting the Teslas on fire.
Yep.
Why? Because they're not just people who are concerned citizens out there with handmade signs.
Nope.
Right? These
Nope.
are professional paid agitators who
That's
are
their
controlled
job.
by the Democratic machine that is engaged in corruption. It's a criminal enterprise.
Yes, it
and,
is.
and deployed.
Yes.
Right, and often funded by foreign sources of money. I mean, there was a great Fox News story that was written over the weekend, last weekend, and we'll get into that in a later episode, where she walked through in great detail how these signs happened to be magically deployed in 4 different cities around our country just hours after the
It
Maduro
was an insane
arrest.
story. It's insane.
Hours. It's not like people just woke up and they're like, you know what? I saw a sign on Twitter and I'm going to print the exact same thing, and therefore I'm going to get 37,000 of my friends. These are paid people, paid by foreign sources who want to agitate and create problems in our country because they know, after watching the strength of Donald Trump, that the only way that you can defeat America is by tricking them to defeat themselves from within.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And like,
Story as old as
here's
time.
the thing. We've been around politics for a long time. We understand heated rhetoric, right? You understand amplifying emotions of an electorate to try to make a point. Minnesota doesn't have any capability. They have no. After George Floyd, you don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to do that. You don't get to say we're at war with Donald Trump.
Insane.
You don't get to say that anymore, because the last time that you did that, you burned down your fucking city. You created 4 years of chaos. You had irreparable damage to the livelihoods of the people who live there, and you did it for a partisan means.
Yep.
Right? So now you come back, and this one's even more seditious. This is even worse. Because in large part, what they're doing is trying to amplify the mere presence of the federal government, of which they would never have been there in the first place if not for an $8 billion fraud
I mean, think about that.
you did.
Walz had to stop running for governor because it became obvious how involved he was in this fraud. And look how quick he jumps on this to try to cover the tracks.
It's incredible, right?
Dude,
Pathetic.
I think, I'm just going to say something here. I think, and we all know that Walz is an idiot, but I think there is more to Tim Walz than meets the eye.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously the guy knows a whole lot more about the fraud that's going on in his state. And I also wonder, when you consider all of the options that Democrats had to choose for vice president at the last minute, there are thousands of Democrats who could have stood up and they're like, no, we picked him because he's the white guy and we're trying to
can
attract the
appeal
white
to
voters.
men.
What if there was a gigantic bag of money behind him that nobody ever knew about, but somehow made him a whole lot more attractive as the number 2 on that ticket?
That's something to investigate. That's something to investigate.
I mean, what other explanation is there? The guy's like, oh, I'm bumbling. Oh, I don't know anything. Cameras go off, and all of a sudden he's like,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing impressive about him.
Right.
He's never done anything that's all that impressive.
might
but
be part of his bit.
But what he has done is managed to convert an entire population of immigrants into a voting and donor base.
Yeah.
And he's done that by sending them millions of dollars and not checking whether or not they're doing the work. And then all of a sudden shows back up in Democratic coffers. If you do that nationwide, I mean, he might be the head of the snake on that deal. I don't know. It's worth, look, don't get distracted by this. Don't get distracted by ICE is in the streets. There's whether or not the shooting is just. I would argue that I grew up in Minnesota, where if a law enforcement officer, federal or otherwise, asks you to stop, you just simply hand them your license and registration, and you ask what you can do. That's the Minnesota that I grew up in. I never grew up in a place where you decided to slam on the gas and try to drive over them. Mm-hmm. But apparently that is the one that Tim Walz, Jacob Fry, and others feel like is appropriate. It's the same one where you can have a guy like George Floyd, who's like a chronic criminal, drug addict, and everything else, become the hero of the city of Minneapolis. That's the reality that they've created for Minnesota. So it's not surprising that we see all of this. But don't be distracted by what they're trying to do with all of that. Because ultimately what they're doing is reaching in your back pocket at the same time. Mm-hmm. They're stealing all your fucking money. And they're giving it to their preferred constituents, who then turn around and give them the money and their votes to keep them in power in the first place. Yep. And if you think for 1 second that Minnesota is unique, you're crazy. This is happening
nationwide.
We're just on this now. The Trump administration is on this. It's going to get to everywhere. So, like, look, if you're running a Somali daycare, button up, folks. Buckle the chin strap. It's going to get pretty rocky over the next few months. When we come back, Walz isn't the only one. Keith Ellison's a big problem. They had a House hearing in that was incredible, and some stuff that came out of that you won't believe about the fraud in Minnesota. Keith Ellison, of course, the AG. We've known this guy's been terrible forever. A lot more right after this.
Energy is all around us. It's how we move, how we build, and how we make every day a little easier. We're all around America's oil and natural gas, supporting 11 million good-paying American jobs across the country and powering our way of life. But energy demand is growing and fast. That's why we need to overhaul our broken permitting process to unleash America's abundant natural resources, strengthen national security, and create a future where American energy leads the world. What America builds today will help secure a more affordable, more reliable future with enough energy to go around for generations to come. Our country can't wait. We must pass permitting reform now to help secure American energy dominance. Because when America builds, America wins. America's oil and natural gas. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
Okay, so while Governor Tim Walz is declaring war on the federal government, of which ostensibly his state is a part of the union still, fucking just kills me, dude. I can't believe this. The House, responsibly, as they do, is taking a look at the finances of all of this. It can only be litigated so far by Nick Shirley and by agencies, and you never learn anything immediately from prosecutions because they gather all the evidence, and like 3 years from now we'll hear about everybody going down just because, I mean, look, that's the nature of prosecution.
But the House can do subpoenas.
But the House can give you answers right away, and so they've showed up. Clip 3.
In our face-to-face meetings with a group of whistleblowers, they revealed that retaliation now includes threats of being fired with cause, which means you do not get unemployment insurance in the state of Minnesota, being blacklisted from all state agencies, and I would note most likely our largest counties as well, which are Democrat-run. And then there was a veiled threat of the use of military intelligence against them. They later informed me that it was discovered that in some targeted employees or suspected whistleblowers' personnel files were pictures of their homes and their cars. They also described that supervisors asked them questions about their families that to them felt like a threat. One example was, We need to know where your kids go to school and where their bus stops are.
That's insane.
I need you to stop and think about that. So that is a Minnesota State Rep, Marin Rhetoric. I don't know her personally. I'd like to now after that testimony because it takes a lot of guts if that's what is the purported set of facts that she's reporting. But what she's saying is that people who attempted to stop fraud, who blew whistles on money that was going out of state coffers into, daycares or whatever else, when they blew the whistle, these people were fired. They were reassigned. They were, what she says is intimidated to the point where they were taking pictures of their homes and their kids in their cars. Boys, this is, when you're talking about 8B, and I mean this sincerely, we laugh and have fun with like the Cosa Nostra thing. That's tiddlywinks compared to what we're talking about.
That's the thing. Is like this situation is making the Italian mob look like small potatoes, which is insane.
Small potatoes.
Like they got all these movies like Godfather and everything, but it's like it turns out the real Kaiser Soze in this situation is this Somali fraud situation. But that they have people that were like, we need photos of your kid's bus stop, the car you drive, where they go to school, because that's the thing is, this is such a huge amount of money on the line that they are stealing $8 billion.
$1 million a day for 22 years. And you would not get to the amount of fraud that has been perpetuated by these people.
I got to say, I'm not surprised at all by the testimony because when the stakes get high, the knives get long.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the thing. I mean, I think what we're witnessing here is the largest failure of liberal governance since the failure of the Great Society.
They're just so much more brazen about it. And,
Right.
and
You're
the
right.
thing is that California has been in the same situation where the fraud is rampant or whatever, but they always act like, oh no, this is our ideology. This is just what they never try to enforce their idea.
Yep.
The problem with the Minneapolis, Minnesota situation is that it would be Wisconsin or Iowa in terms of an ideological setting. So it is could be a competitive state at some level. But they have to enforce the fact that it's not. And when you have 25 years of governance, and before that, there was another 50 before it, where that state power is really the only thing that you're hanging on to, because then you can buy constituencies. Then the power of the incumbency is such that you can pull all the levers of state largesse to try to favor people who support you and disfavor people who don't. They become so focused on it. But then you enter into it a post-COVID $8 billion situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no government in America, including the New York City, largest government and municipal government in this country, who can handle just $8 billion thrown on top of it. They can't. These guys just welcomed it with open arms. And then they decided what we're going to do with it is just sort of sight on scene, give it to the constituencies that benefit us, and if you audit it, you're fucked. And so they have to kind of enforce it because there are people, fair people, they're trying to do their job. Hey, this is supposed to go to child care. There's no children here.
Right.
And they're like, what did you fucking say?
Right.
I mean, it really is. Nice house.
Right.
Shame if something happened to it.
Right.
And that is why this is a perfect case study for the larger situation that brings us to California and municipalities across. We've known this is going on in Chicago forever. Why in the world would Chicago vote for higher crime rates year after year after year? Well, I don't know. If the only way that you could put bread in your mouth was voting for the Democrat near you, you don't have much of a choice.
It's the welfare industrial complex.
It is.
Dude, that's it.
That's what it is. I mean, look at the homelessness situation in California and the billions of dollars they've thrown at that to NGOs and nonprofits that have fanciful sounding names and promise all of these beds for people who are suffering, and they haven't solved it.
Yeah.
They've just thrown money at the problem because it's the point of solving the problem isn't real. The point is to keep the spigot of money flowing.
Yeah, I mean, but the reason that Minnesota is a perfect case study to then get into that conversation is because they had to enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was political. I mean, Republicans have had majorities in the legislature there in the last 4 years. I mean, they actually have to enforce it. California, they're like that. Nobody's going to look over the shoulder anyway. Like, good. Mistakes were made. And they move on. Kamala Harris. But like in Minnesota, they had to do the thing. They had to do the full sleep with the fishes situation. So now you're seeing the other side of this that comes out in House testimony. We're not done. Clip 4.
90% of the individuals charged or indicted with the $250 million Feeding Our Future COVID fraud are of Somali descent.
I believe that to be correct.
Are you aware that in a 2021 video, Mr. Ellison promised that he would obstruct his own agencies in their investigation of Somali fraud?
I am very much aware of that.
It's no wonder that criminals in the Somali community felt they were free to steal taxpayer dollars. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Marion. Do you have any doubt that Tim Walz knew about this fraud as it was occurring?
None whatsoever.
Wow.
Walz and Ellison were protecting fraudsters instead of investigating them, and it was purposeful. And it's no coincidence that this is occurring largely in the Somali community. Walz made a sanctuary state, Minnesota, a sanctuary state. He gave free health care, free college, and free licenses to illegals. And Walz looked the other way when Somali immigrants were stealing.
So that, to me, drives me up the wall the most about this whole situation, is seeing that in Minnesota, you have American citizens who are, the message to them is like, oh, by your own devices, whatever happens to you, happens to you. You got to find out a way to pay for groceries if they've got more expensive. You have to find a way to pay for childcare. Meanwhile, for the Somalis, oh boy, the Democrats were happy to just open up the wallet. Why should you have to pay for daycare? Even better, we'll let you have that as a business. We'll send money your way. Food, housing, everything, we'll cover it. College, we'll cover it. But for American citizens, nothing. It's insane. It's unconscionable. It's traitorous. These people should be put in prison. There needs to be serious accountability beyond just, the first inclination is, yes, we should deport every Somali involved in this. But we got to hold accountable people like Ellison and Walz who allowed for this system because they're traitors to this country.
So I want to get to the Ellison thing because that's an important development. That's also, he's the Attorney General. He was a left-wing member of the House of Representatives, a progressive stalwart, pro
He was like head of the DNC, wasn't he?
Essentially. Yeah. I mean, this guy, the worst of the worst.
Ilhan Omar and AOC before they showed up on the scene.
Let's get to that audio in clip 1, please.
The only way we can protect what we have is by inserting ourselves into the political arena, putting our votes where it needs to be, but most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates that will fight to protect our interests.
That's right.
You can only protect our interests when we have your back, and you don't have to worry about who's behind you.
Okay.
No.
So that was a conversation, and that was published on Fox News. It was a conversation between the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, and some activists.
One of the convicted fraudsters from that.
Who was convicted.
It's incredible.
Of fraud within the Somali community. And he's basically saying, hey, we can vote for you.
Yeah. We can pay the protection money.
And we can pay.
Dude, that was like the most Godfather shit. Yeah. I was like, is this real? This sounds like a script of like, so we can protect your back. You just got to watch out. It's like, oh my God, dude. And it's on tape.
Yeah. It's on tape.
Where are the handcuffs, bro? Like,
no, for real. Where are the handcuffs? I mean, he's already in prison, but where's Ellison's
That's
handcuffs?
what I'm saying. He needs the cuffs.
So, and it's a veiled... There's much, much more on this, and I encourage you to go find this online about Ellison's sort of quid pro quo and looking the other way. I mean, none of these these are federal prosecutions that are being done. Like, his office didn't look into any of this shit. They weren't interested in prosecuting Somali fraud. Mm-hmm. Could that conversation have been instructive? Appears.
Incredible, dude.
He won by a nut hair. Yeah, he didn't win by a lot.
Which is wild to me, considering everything Democrats do in the state.
So clip 2.
The performance audit shows the Behavioral Health Administration sent millions of dollars out the door in grants without making proper checks into who was receiving them. And that is not even the most jaw-dropping finding. Lou Raguse has tonight's top story. Lou?
Julie, according to the nonpartisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
Auditor Judy Randall says she was most shocked that during the audit, multiple DHS managers backdated or created new documents to try to cover their tracks.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it, and we did in this case. And it's very troubling.
That is insane.
So what they're saying is not only were the people who are whistleblowing about fraud intimidated and reassigned or outright fired from reporting it, but then when an audit came down, that they actually changed the documentation and backdated components of it to try to avoid culpability altogether. So this is where this goes from negligence and stupidity.
Correct.
To intent and crime.
Yep. This is no longer just like, oh, you know, it's just some bumbling Dems. This is a criminal enterprise.
And I'm not satisfied at all with Tim Walz or Keith Ellison like sending some line lawyer or some policy staffer who is communicating with the Office of Legal Counsel, you know, up to face charges. No, it's them. They're on the hook. That's why you run for the office. Your job is to safeguard this. Your literal job, if you have one of them,
you get one job, bro,
is to pretend as though you care about the taxpayer dollars that come in and that you are ensuring that they go to what you said they were going to do. That's it. That's it. There is no other real job.
I mean, you have to.
That's the core of every job in government.
You have to think of this from Keith Ellison's perspective, though. He's like, I know the job is to fight the crime, but to get the job, I have to do the crime.
I gotta do the crime. We're all doing the crime. I do it better than you do, frankly. How am I getting these grant? You can't even write the word learning. I gotta put this request in myself, for Christ's sakes. What's wrong with you people? Which, by the way, we've talked about this before the show. There's something to be said there. You mean to tell me that this bunch of these Somalis that we saw that can't spell the word learning are responsible for $8 billion?
Well, I got to say, if you listen again to that Ellison audio, the other person did not sound like a Somali immigrant with a thick accent.
Exactly. No, dude.
Sounded like somebody who may understand what he's doing.
There are people behind this whose names we do not yet know.
Yeah. And those are the people out protesting ICE and throwing rocks at police.
I want a fucking Watergate commission on this.
Yes.
Because my suspicion, and this is unfounded, but we're here on a show and I got a microphone, so I'm going to say it. My suspicion is that the crux of the entirety of the Democratic Party is at some level involved in pieces of this across this country.
I totally agree.
That we've talked forever on this show about the Arabella advisors, the network of C4s, the foreign funding of all of these things that just splashed across this country, nonprofits and for-profits and a web of intended to confuse of people who are all about trying to garner as many resources as they can to direct them to the constituencies of their preference. If you had any doubt about that, you raised on the last show the Stacey Abrams $20 billion situation to go buy stoves in Atlanta.
Unbelievable.
From basically the Hotmail account of a banking situation, my first bank account. You know? Like if your 10-year-old opens up a bank account, that's the equivalent of what they did. Next thing you know, they've got 9 figures in there. Like that's what they do. And my sense is that this criminal enterprise, we're focused on Walz, who was a capo in a larger enterprise. I don't know who runs it. Is it the Soros situation? I don't know who it is. Somebody does. Because not everybody can write grants that get $8 billion out of one state in this union.
It's certainly hard to do if you can't spell the word learning.
You would think.
You know?
Yeah.
Or that guy who's a member of the Somali parliament who was a manager, misspelled the word manager, and then also he was the DEI head of some local school district, and then he's running some healthcare company in Minnesota. There is so much fraud, but you know that the guy who's misspelling manager, to your point, the person who can't spell learning, they're not the brains behind the operation. I cannot wait to find out. And you know that this is a generational thing from Somalia. We all know this has gone on for over 30 years. SNL famously spoofed the Somalia situation when Bill Clinton was president of the United States with one of the greatest sketches they ever did.
McDonald's.
He was in McDonald's,
Yeah.
and he was trying to explain to people how warlords in Somalia were your McDLT,
Steve Hartman.
aid from Great Britain intercepted by warlords.
Yeah, and he's taking bites along the way.
It's a brand.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like the guy from the Somali parliament who runs national security for Somalia somehow ends up as a school board member in St. Cloud, Minnesota, a rural place in the center of the state.
How?
And then owns a healthcare company that is getting millions of dollars of American taxpayer dollars. And like, I don't know all the details beyond that, but how's that happen? That he didn't just show up. He didn't wake up in the suburbs of Mogadishu,
right?
Saying like, "Hey, I got an idea. Why don't you guys get on board with this?" Somebody did,
right?
And I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of things going on. I don't know of a more significant political cudgel the Democrats could inflict on themselves than where this story ultimately leads. They did this.
Right.
The crime is committed.
Right.
It's already done. The milk is spilt. The horse is out of the barn.
Mm-hmm.
Find it.
Yeah.
If you are Jamie Comer, if you are the Department of Justice, if you're the Department of Homeland Security, this is super important. It is super important. You're $36 trillion in debt as a country. If half a trillion, as was that report that we did on Tuesday, is going to fraud, and this amount in one state, and it's all kind of coordinated to a point where it just happens to benefit the Democratic power players in the state, my sense is we're dealing with a real thing here.
Right. Dude, 100%. Every normal person in this country sweats whether they've crossed every T and dotted every I for their 1040 return.
Totally.
They're sweating whether they got their insurance premium payment in on time for their car insurance. This is a completely different thing. This is not normal.
This is an insult
this is
to
not
Americans.
America.
This is an insult to Americans.
A couple more clips here. Clip 5.
The cover letter of this report states, quote, however, during the course of our audit, we identified a number of documents that the Behavioral Health Administration either backdated or created after our audit happened, end quote. It sounds like Governor Tim Walz's Department of Human Services may have been fabricating evidence by creating documentation after the fact to mislead voters, to mislead auditors. This new report noted that one grantee who received nearly $680,000 from this agency for 1 month's work, but could not provide any documentation or proof that any work was actually completed. What's more, and this is the kicker, the report notes that the grant manager who approved this money left the agency within days of approving the grant to take a job with the very same grantee that they approved money for.
Amazing.
Oh.
Might as well get paid by both sides. They were making nearly $1,000 an hour, 24 hours a day, $680,000 in a month. No documentation to show any work that they did, and then they get a job for the person they cut the grant to. Amazing. This is way more brazen than anything any La Cosa Nostra pulled off. This is incredible.
I mean, that's why we're going into detail on this. You know, like this shit's not boring. This is like, if you go into detail on something, this is straight Cosa Nostra stuff. That's unbelievable. 600. There is somebody who approves a grant, sight unseen. Never met the guy. Never talked to about what they did. Never did a site visit to see if they were doing the thing. Never had any experience doing the thing. Sent the money. And then as soon as that went out the door, they got the job with the guy who was doing the thing?
It's insane.
Are you kidding me?
It's insane.
And it's not that the paperwork doesn't exist. I mean, at least at the beginning of this week, it probably existed. But I would bet if there are fires in Minnesota this week, that somehow magically the paper trail gets burned.
So many daycares are going to be like, oh no, in the riot, all my documentation was destroyed.
No, you destroyed the healthcare and all of the children with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what they're trying to do. That's why these two things are inextricably tied. They're trying to get you to pay attention to the ICE deal. The fact of the matter is the ICE thing, the only reason they're there in the first place is to investigate this situation. They're going door to door and they're trying to figure out how to do the job of federal law enforcement where the state of Minnesota did not and refused to do. And explicitly in this hearing, were intimidated out of doing. Good people in law enforcement wanted to do their job and were intimidated out of, you'll lose your job. We got a picture of your house. We got a picture of your car. Here's a picture of your kid's school.
It's insane.
I mean, dude, this is like, Tammany Hall.
And if you think that these people who you're talking about, Josh, are Republicans, you're deluding yourself.
You're insane.
These are government-employed, probably Democrats.
Probably. I mean, this is like, it's exclusively Democrats that work in this government, but some of them are trying to do the job that they said they signed up for, and that they're the ones that are being crushed by this whole thing. We got one more clip. This is Clip State. Emily Randall of Washington State has got some things to say. Democrats have a counter.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, no, they've expressed themselves.
I'm sure this will clear it all up.
Yeah, no, she's got a lot to say because she knows a lot from the Pacific Northwest about what's going on. Clip 6.
We can trot out all of the data that we want to create the sense that there is a bad guy. There is a bad group of people. There are folks who are not among us. There are folks who are other. And I think we should spend a lot more time looking at ourselves, looking at American citizens, looking at white men.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Dude, that's become such a tired playbook of the Dems. Is like, well, you see, it's actually racism. What I had just said is how insulting this whole situation is to American citizens. Not only are you paying these taxes, trying to get by, you don't get any help on your child care that you have to pay for. You're not getting any help on your groceries. You're not getting any help on your bills. Not only do you get robbed of the tax money you do send the government, now you get insulted. This is an unbelievable situation.
Crazy.
It's hard to like. I mean, first of all, she's like a fat Elena Kagan.
I could have guessed exactly how this person would look before
Can we put her back up?
We knew. Everybody knew.
And the tone of the voice, you knew that tone was coming.
You just look at her. If you show up at something your wife drags you to, and that lady standing in the middle of the cocktail party, you're going to do everything you can do to work around that. Everything.
You don't want the lecture.
She's got a lot to say.
Yeah.
And she's involved in the school board, trying to teach your kids how to cut their pricks off and push them inside out.
Because she knows better than anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I'm so mad. I'm so mad because this is, dude, it's my home state. Like you guys, we've done things on all of your home states. And you get to a point where they try to create a partisanship prism by which we look through. That is, you heard Tim Walz say, it's like, well, it's Donald Trump is trying to do this to me. No, you lost $8 billion, dude. You have Keith Ellison being, sort of like, oh, well, this is, it's an attack on Minnesota and Jacob Fry and all of that shit. And then you get national representatives from Washington State. She's probably never met a Republican in her entire life. Never met anybody who believes in Jesus, for that matter. And she is the one who's going to tell it. It's not that it's white men. That's the issue. No, just look at the accounting, lady. Like, just look at the Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
She called it data. Hilarious, by the way.
Data.
You do billions of dollars of fraud, and she hand waves past it. Look, we could look at numbers all day, but I want to talk about my feelings and white men.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't know her ass from a fucking hole in the ground, and then she's showing up on a dais to tell people what it is that you should be focused on, and it's not the fact that you've been stolen from. I mean, it's no different. The worst part about government fraud is that it's laundered so many times that it doesn't feel like they're actually coming into your house and breaking your safe open and stealing out of your wallet.
Can I say something? The reason
that's what it is.
The reason she says that is because it works. is because that's been the Democrat playbook for 20 years. While they're running their corrupt system of buying votes, of stealing from Americans, they've tried to divide Americans by saying, oh no, it's racism, it's white supremacy. You see, the real problem here is white supremacy. While we rob you blind, while we give your hard-earned dollars to illegals, while we treat them like royalty and make your lives worse, we're going to blame you. We're going to try to divide this country. And you see that all across this country.
And all over the world. You were mentioning something out of Germany you saw.
Well, yeah. I mean, a left-wing group in Berlin knocks out the power to a quarter of the city. And you have Germans, you have elderly Germans who are left freezing in their homes because it's winter in Germany. It's cold right now. And they're left freezing in their apartments. But the government in Berlin took all the migrants and put them in luxury hotels. That's happening in America. It's insulting to the citizens of this country.
preferred population.
Yep.
If you think that can't happen here, I direct you back to the previous administration when they passed a stimulus bill where they awarded only agriculture subsidies to a particular race-based subsidy.
Or when you had that horrific flooding.
Like a farmer's not a farmer?
The horrific flooding that was in western North Carolina. And they stole all that FEMA money for the illegal immigrants.
Yep. Yeah.
Not the people in rural North Carolina, you know, who couldn't get down the side of the mountain.
That's what's happening here. It's like we like to have a lot of fun on the Ruthless Variety. We laugh, we joke, we make fun of these things. Every once in a while, it's like, dude, take a step back. Mm-hmm. If that's allowed to persist in this country, you don't have a country.
Yep.
You just don't have one.
Yeah.
And any America that you ever grew up in or knew of or thought of that gave you even the slightest hope for improving the lives of your family, your neighbors, and the people around you, it's gone. It's mob tactic. It is the straight old school, Huey Long, pay to play, like just complete corruption that these people have been participating in. And because you have a compliant media, we don't have to discuss these things. We discuss them as though there's a difference of opinion. Mm-hmm. There's a difference of opinion about whether a third world dictator in a failed state on our doorstep who's shipping oil and minerals to all of America's enemies should be removed and we should take control of it. We have a debate about that.
Dude,
we have a debate about that. There's a debate about that in this country, as if they're operating in good faith on any of it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, the only time that the legacy media covers both sides and writes he said, she said is when Democrats are caught red-handed.
That's it.
It's the only time they ever do it.
I am so pissed. I mean, it's like it's hard to sleep. It's unbelievable that they've allowed this to come. Republicans in Minnesota, if you get your fucking act together, like I'm going to come there and shake your ass straight because this is insane that we have gotten to a point where these people are so brazen that they feel not only can they steal $8 billion, but then they can tell the people who are like, maybe not like the whole $8 billion, and they're like, no, I'm gonna go to your kid's school, and they're like, okay, that's fine.
Minnesotans need to be held accountable.
They do.
Yeah, they like being Minnesota nice. Look what's been done to your state. Look what's been done to your cities. What are you people doing about it?
I will say,
Minnesota nice.
Much like Ohio and Indiana, for that matter, there is a nicety to it. But like you never want to meet a bigger prick in your entire life than somebody from Minnesota who feels like they took advantage of you.
That's exactly when people.
What
feel
about
like
the Somalis? They're doing it in their
advantage of.
faces. I want to see it. What's the reaction? What's the crackback look like?
I'm waiting for it, dude. I'm waiting for it. If you need help, let me know because you're gonna need it. There is absolutely no answer for a Democratic win anywhere. I don't care if it's the most blue county in Minnesota. Like, there's no answer for why you can't win it with all this shit going on. Leads us to our question of the day. When it's all settled, how big will the fraud be nationwide? You heard the Trump administration talk about California. That's the creme de la creme. We're talking about known entities like Medi-Cal, who have been the king fraud. I would say, like, if you know, what's the fraud capital world? Is it like...
Minneapolis?
Well, now it is. That's what I guess that was my point. Is that like this is the biggest thing? We've known it forever. They're going to have so much. Think about San Francisco, L.A., up and down that coast.
You had 1 mile of light rail built in California over like 10 years. That cost about like $5 billion. Like,
yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, they build
In New York City, it took like 20 years to get 2 miles of the Second Avenue subway built. Like, the corruption nationwide is insane. This is a terrific question.
Yeah, so you total that stuff up. When you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Friday program, we read all your comments. We'll get back to you on Fun Time Friday with a lot of commentary about all of it. And when we come back, we're going to come up with your question from last episode when we asked, following the capture of Maduro, which Democrat embarrassed themselves the most. A lot to choose from, and you guys had some great stuff right after this. Okay, when you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Friday program, we read all of your comments. When you question of the day. And, boy, it's been good. Really enjoyed your commentary lately because I feel like we've learned a lot of the holidays and everything else. Remember, we did the question and answer thing. You guys had some great questions. I wish we could have got all of them. But honestly, you'd have been bored listening to us talk about all of that for 5 or 6 episodes that it would take to get all of them. But this one is a good question, which is which Democrat embarrassed themselves the most, reversing themselves on the whole Venezuela Maduro thing. To start, we always start with the voice.
Okay, first one comes from the Salty Chief. And Salty writes, embarrassing as Alyssa Slotkin. She has the balls to go on and say, quote, many Americans have lost confidence that we know what we're doing abroad, close quote. After she was part of Obama's Arab Spring that replaced Gaddafi with ISIS. Somehow the left thinks their entire past of broken policy is off limits, like they get a clean slate.
Yep.
That is such an excellent point.
Such a good point. So good.
They never want to talk context. The left never wants to talk context because when you look at history, they are ruined time and time again.
Comment 2, Dunks Runks.
This is from Michael McCready. Michael writes, Kamala Harris by a mile. The U.S. put a literal price tag on Maduro's head. Then she reacted to his capture like someone calling the manager because the coupon actually worked.
Amazing.
When your own policy achieves its stated goal and you're still mad about it, that's not nuance. That's self-owned performance art by the former vice president.
Nailed it.
I like that
So
one.
good.
That's good.
Comment 3, Smug.
Comment 3 is from Cole Garrett, and Cole writes, Chris Murphy definitely embarrassed himself the most. Absolute clown. The drugs are going to Europe, huh? I don't know what's worse, the fact that he said that or the fact that there are Americans out there who will still believe it. That's the thing.
Totally.
That's the thing.
Totally. It is really discouraging when you see just the like reflexive, you know, I mean, it's the reason why Walz is doing this thing with the ICE deal is that like if you wear the blue jersey that you're like, yeah, that's...
You can say and do whatever you want and you're never held accountable.
Never held
accountable. And it's the same thing, like in the aftermath of the ICE officer defending himself from that lunatic, you saw all these agitators out in the street. It's time to lock them up. It's time to lock them up.
It is. It is. I say lock Walz up.
Damn right.
Lock Walz
Hell
up.
yes.
At a minimum, get his ass out of... I don't know what the whole state constitution
We need
is.
helicopters with Delta, go down on Walz's house, wrap up him and his wife.
Let's get him out of there.
It's
he
done.
should be in the Southern District in New York.
Well, put him in there. Put him in there.
Guy's terrible. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to get to our It's Game Day.
Yes.
King of the Hill, our featured presentation here on the Ruthless Friday program right after this. Okay, it's Thursday, and when it's Thursday, we play our signature game on the Ruthless Friday program, which is King of the Hill.
King of the Hill, and I believe you're the defending champion, right, Holmes?
I am. I'm the full fat man.
Steve Schmidt.
Yep.
And Ashbrook, your challenger?
George Conway.
George Conway, who's had some hot heat recently. I think this is going to be a good match. You're judge.
I am the judge.
We didn't cover this, so if you didn't know it, George Conway, the CNN commentator, former husband of Kellyanne Conway, the campaign manager of the 2016 Donald Trump election campaign. They, split, went on their way. He had a delusional breakdown, went on CNN, became a contributor, and now he's running for Congress.
Yeah, as a Democrat.
Really?
Yeah, no, I watched his intro video. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, you want to talk about, like, there's
such a... This guy's just like a fall from grace. A fall from grace.
Just brain damage.
Ruined his life.
And we get to enjoy it.
Right?
Yeah. Here we are.
Let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill.
In the red corner, fighting from a campaign office, clean shaven and running for Congress, George Conway.
That's good.
And now, in the blue corner, fighting from a patio somewhere in Utah, and current champion of the world, the old rat man, Steve Schmidt.
This is so good.
It's just it's like such an extra emphasis. It
He
might be
holds
my
him
favorite.
accountable on that, dude.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Okay, so I have to ask from a ruling from the judge to begin with, because it'll dictate how I play what I do. Steve has gotten into a new format where he just like throws 3 words on the twits, but then does a graphic. No more than 140 words, because I am cognizant of the rules of the game, that he uses to post his opinion.
Okay.
I'll allow it so it can give more context to our audio-only listeners who should subscribe to the YouTube.
Okay, all right, that's good. So I will, provided that we never exceed 140 characters on the graphic and
That's
the
fair. That's
explanation
fair.
provided.
That's fair.
I can't wait to see these graphics. 'Cause
They
they
better
sound
be
like
good.
dog shit.
They better be good.
You're gonna love it.
Yes.
Exhibit 3, please. Donald loves doing
Oh
deals.
my God. It's a horrible graphic.
The graphic is Donald Trump on one side, Maduro on the other. Venezuela will be like crypto for the Trumps, just bloodier and costlier for you, while bringing you about the same return for the average American, which is 0.
It is an absolutely horrible dog shit graphic. Like Microsoft Paint and like I can't read that shit.
I
It's
think the
awful.
problem is Steve has not upgraded his Canva account to a premium account, and he still doesn't know how to use it. I just a free tip to you, Steve. So when you have that invisible bar around the white section there that you're trying to create a gradient, you got to drag that all the way to the bottom of the red, and then you got to use the minus to reduce the opacity. So
Dude,
that
this is an actual pro tip.
So that the white gradient does not cover the white text you're putting on the graphic, you idiot.
Judge, I would like to submit the testimony of the bailiff to the record as a misuse of the internet as an expert.
It's
I will-
added to the
I'll
record.
sign that,
I'll allow him
amicus.
to be an expert.
Thank you.
All right, Ashbrook.
Okay, sticking with genre, exhibit number 9, please. As you guys know, there was an old rusty tanker that some people said had ties to Russia, and that the U.S. was monitoring its travel across the Atlantic and towards Russia. And George Conway, candidate for Congress, former Republican and purveyor of Russia conspiracy against Trump, said that any American monitoring of this ship is, quote, this is piracy under the law of nations. And under Section 1651 of Title 18 of the United States Code, piracy under the law of nations is punishable by life imprisonment. How dare you investigate this ship you believe is headed toward Russia, America?
That's great. That's good context because like Conway was one of the Russiagate guys out there on the forefront, and he's like, "How dare you harm this ship which started flying Russian colors? Like, this is piracy." Like, it's a great example of how these people, because the whole crux of King of the Hill is exposing how much these people are hypocrites. And in the vein of that, I have to give round 1.
Wow.
Conway.
Wow. I didn't see it going that way. Okay, challenger has to go first in round 2.
Okay, Exhibit 12, please. And if it please the court, you'll find that not only is George Conway running for Congress, but I'm also launching a Substack. Why?
Classic.
Because Trump is completely unfit for office.
Whoa!
No way!
No, you're telling me for the first time.
Oh my God!
His enablers are cowards, and the truth needs to be said plainly by someone who knows how these guys tick.
Wow.
Plus, I need a couple of bucks in my pocket.
Exactly.
That's truly remarkable that you could be in the year of our Lord 2026, launch a Substack, and act like you're doing something.
Yeah. Seriously.
Like I've just, you know what? I've decided Donald Trump's unfit for office. Of course, I've been saying that every single day on this platform since 2016. But I just wanted to break some new ground here.
Incredible.
It is incredible. Unfortunately, I'm not going to allow you to win round 2. I have to take it to. So this is Exhibit 6, where he says Trump's family and associates have engaged in millions of dollars worth of graft and fraud and corruption. He does the same thing with the graphic. The graphic
Again, he did it.
Trump's sons, Uday and Kusei.
Oh my God.
And the daughter he has repeatedly sexualized.
No way.
Have made hundreds of millions of dollars illegitimately, illegally over 2025.
All right, that's too deranged. That's too deranged. That's round 2, Schmidt.
I mean, it's
Wow.
Uday and Kusei, and then
Uday-
sexualized his daughter. This guy's lost his mind.
Uday.
He's just deranged. I mean, what is wrong with him?
Okay.
Round 3 for
I
all the
always
marbles
like to
here.
cap things off on a nice, vigorous King of the
Okay.
Hill game with a little Nazi talk.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Exhibit 2, please. How many military strikes does the MAGA Führer plan for 2026? There has been no debate in Congress, let alone across the nation, about the war in Venezuela. There's no congressional authorization and very dubious legal authority for these strikes.
Bro, that's the whole point. There is no war in Venezuela.
There is no
The Delta
war!
Force rolled their president. Now he's in jail.
He had an indictment, and they sniped him.
I do love, there's an artistry to Steve in which he starts with MAGA Führer. And then he proceeds to make a very legalistic argument for something. You know?
He goes Nazi, and then something to think about.
Something to think about. That's good. All right, it's all coming down to you on this one, Ashbrook.
Okay, Conway's doing his best here, but I'm not
that's a
sure.
tough one.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to compete with
Oh,
that.
Have a little confidence, old man. Come on. You got to entertain the people. Put your best foot forward.
Exhibit number 7, please. And this is an announcement tweet from George Conway, the former Republican, former husband of a Republican extraordinaire. He writes, "I'm running for Congress in New York 12. My home," is what he claims there, although I thought he lived in the D.C. area.
He did.
Conway continues in a tweet that accompanies his demented video, which we're not allowed to play. I'll just read what he writes. "We have a demented criminal president running our country like a mob operation, government by the boss, for the boss. We need democratic fighters who will defend the rule of law and deliver government by the people. Join us." And so what I would like to point out about that final phrase, we need democratic fighters. Okay, this guy is a lifelong Republican.
Incredible.
Second of all, who will deliver the rule of law and or government by the people. He's one of the wealthiest attorneys in our entire country.
That's the saddest
there's no
thing is-
partner
that's what's
in any
tragic.
firm who's made more money than George Conway.
He was a WLRK, which is like the dream of every attorney in the country to work there because you get bank. He threw that whole life away to be demented, broken brain.
He acts like he's packed in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every morning.
And that's New York 12. That's on the west side. It was Humpty Dumpty's, right? What's his name? The old fat man.
Oh, yeah.
The Congress.
Jerry Nadler.
Nadler. Yeah.
Yeah, Nadler.
That is going to be such a mess of a primary of just derangement.
I mean,
So I give him credit, but it's not close, dude.
Führer.
MAGA Führer.
You can't beat that.
Incredible championship continues to stay with Steve Schmidt.
Steve reigns supreme.
Incredible.
This is awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you got a little insight and we've provided you a little bit of context into what you're seeing in Minnesota. Do not be fooled. They want to make this a partisan food fight. It's not. Look at the spreadsheet. Did they do it? Mm-hmm. Didn't they do it? They did it. Hint. They did it. Mm-hmm. Remember our question of the day, when it's all settled, how big will the fraud be nationwide? When you like and subscribe, we read all of them. We'll get back to you the very next episode on Fun Time Friday. With that, fellas, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode, gentlemen. Thank you so much to the Minions for tuning in. And remember, if you have not yet, go to the YouTube, hit that subscribe because it's more fun in video. So until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Friday. Stay ruthless.